What's going on, guys? I'm here today to bring you guys some matchups that I believe should be made post UFC Baku, and specifically in the featherweight and lightweight division. And overall, this was a pretty good card. There was a lot of finishes on this card, and wow, was that crowd biased. Obviously, for the Azerbaijan fighters, they're going to be biased, but when Nazim got knocked down, I've never heard a crowd so quiet for a knockdown. It was like the commentators were like, didn't even know what was happening. They kind of paused for a second. These guys just get knocked down. But I'm not going to go over the whole card, but I will talk a little bit about the main event, as you see on my screen here. And look, a lot of people are saying that Torres fraud check. And I don't really believe that he necessarily got fraud checked. It's not like he was fighting some can or, some weak contender. Rafael Fiziev is still a very good fighter in the lightweight division. And, people forget, man, before this fight, his only losses really were to Gaethje twice, Oliveira, and tearing his ACL against Gamrot, and then obviously losing to Rufi. But, I mean, even in the Rufi fight, I thought he had some success on the feet. And, if he had a different game plan going into that fight, maybe we see a different outcome. Probably not. I think Rufi is really just that good. But you can see the reason I don't think Torres was fraud checked, because I thought he did have success in the first round. I mean, you can see how close these significant strike numbers were. Fiziev only landing 3 more significant strikes, and some of those probably came from the ground and pound. And I only really think that he lost. Torres lost that first round because of the takedowns. So, I think it's more so that he got caught. His chin is kind of sus, now we're a liability now. There's a lot of questions around that in his fights going forward, so we'll see. But I did want to talk about some matchups for both of these fighters after this event, starting off with Rafael Fiziev, who I believe should be rewarded for this fight. I don't think he should fight somebody that's only 2 spots up in the rankings, like Dan Hooker. I think he should be rewarded for that performance and that finish. So with that being said, I think his next matchup is definitely going to depend on the outcome of UFC 329. And if that plays out the way that I think it's going to play out, I think Paddy Pimblett wins that fight against BSD. And I think BSD, if he does lose that fight, I think we give him Rafael Fiziev. I think this is a good matchup on paper. I definitely think this is a winnable fight for Fiziev, and like I said, I think he should be rewarded. I don't think he should be fighting a couple spots up in the rankings. Stylistically, I mean, I think he has a striking advantage over BSD, obviously, and BSD has the grappling advantage. But I think this is a solid striker versus grappler matchup, and I think this can definitely either open up a main card or be the feature fight. And I think this is definitely a good matchup to make in the future. Moving on to Manuel Torres. Man, that was a tough loss, dude. Tough loss. Like I said, don't believe he got fraud checked. I don't think that we give him somebody ranked in the top 15 right now, according to the new UFC rankings. I think he needs a bounce back. He definitely is probably going to be out for a little while. He did take some damage, especially with the ground and pound at the end of the fight. And I think this is another fight that, could be made depending on the outcomes of UFC 329. And I think this is a banger matchup on paper. And I think somebody's going to sleep in the first 20 seconds of the fight. Let's see Manuel Torres versus Terrence McKinney. I mean, this fight alone is an awesome fight to open up a main card. Casuals will love this fight, as I said, because somebody's going to go to sleep probably in the first 10 seconds. And like I said, I don't think you give Manuel Torres another shot in the top 15 yet. I think he needs a bounce-back fight. Do I think he can beat Terrence McKinney? I think he can. Obviously, he can put him to sleep, but, McKinney can still put him to sleep as well. And I definitely don't think that even if McKinney beats Bobby Green in a week from now, that you give him a ranked opponent. I still think he needs another solid win before getting a shot at the top 15. And what other way to get a solid win than put him versus Torres, because both of these guys could easily knock each other out. Moving on to the featherweight division, And first, we're going to talk about Lord Silva and how good is the featherweight division right now, brother. It looks like Mosvar is going to get the shot against Volk, obviously. So in the meantime, you kind of have two contenders that can be up next for the title and fight whoever wins that fight. One of them obviously being Gene Silva, and the other, who I think should be fighting Silva next, Aljamain Sterling. Aljo's calling for a title fight after beating Zalal. And look, Aljo's has had some really good success in the featherweight division, had a close fight with Mosvar, beat everybody else in front of him. But with that being said, I just don't think that we'd give him a title shot right after beating Zalal. I think don't let these two guys sit around and wait for the title shot. Let's get this fight made. But win or lose, I think this opens up a lot of potential fights in the featherweight division. If Silva loses, we can, feed him to Vallejos. If Aljo loses, which I think is more likely to happen, there's some other matchups there. But like I said, I just don't want to see these two waiting around until after the Volk and Mosvar fight. I think this fight needs to be made, and I think it's pretty obvious at this point that this is what everybody's asking for. So, and this fight could easily main event a fight night card or co-main a pay-per-view. Moving on to another contender in the featherweight division, let's talk about Lerone Murphy. And is it just me, bro, or am I the only one that can't stand watching this dude fight, bro? This guy is so fucking boring, bro. I'm sorry, man. Prior to the spinning elbow knockout on Pico, this guy decisioned his way into a title elimination bout. I'm sorry, I don't find him entertaining at all. And maybe that's a controversial topic. Maybe it's not. I don't really know. But with that being said, let's send him to execution via Vallejos. I think this is the next fight to make for Kevin Vallejos. Prior to this, before, I would have said give Vallejos Yair Rodriguez, who I can't even stand more than Lerone Murphy because this motherfucker does absolutely nothing in the featherweight division. Fights once every 5 years, dude. Holy shit. Now he's moving up to lightweight to run away from Vallejos and Diego Lopez. But now that fight can't be made because Yair sucks, I think you give Kevin Vallejos Lerone Murphy, and some of you might say, well, that's a big step up in competition. I understand, but let's not play around with this dude, right? Pause. But let's not fool around. Let's give this guy a top 5 contender. I don't know why we'd give him anybody else, to be honest with you. Anybody else below the top 5 is going to get slimed. Obviously, I'm pretty biased towards Vallejos, but I think we shoot this guy into superstardom because I do think he would absolutely destroy and execute Lerone Murphy. And I think this is a great fight to make because if Vallejos does win, it sets him up for a title elimination bout after this between either the loser of Aljo and Gene or one of those two if they don't end up fighting each other. And like I said, I don't want to sit around and wait for another, 6 months to a year watching other featherweights duck this guy, I think you give him a top 5 now, and if Lerone Murphy somehow manages to win this fight, that sets him up easily for a title shot. I think Vallejos is that good, and I think a lot of people would agree with me. But those are the matchups I want to see made post-UFC Baku. I know this was kind of a short video, but just thought I would share my thoughts on some matchups moving forward. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Please like and subscribe, and thank you. Adios.